President Trump greets Judge Neil M. Gorsuch during his announcement of Gorsuch's Supreme Court nomination in Washington on January 31, 2017. Jabin BotsfordThe Washington Post on Friday, the White House released, without context, a list of the people whom President Trump might consider should a vacancy open on the Supreme Court. It was an updated version of a list that he has released before, with 5 new names added for a total of about 24 jurists. The update was released in conjunction with a convention of the Conservative Federalist Society, members of which made up the original list released by the Trump campaign in May 2016. Neil M. Gorsuch, Trump's actual Supreme Court pick, wasn't on that original list. But Trump's update to the list served a broader purpose, as well, reminding his base, and Republicans in Alabama, that his presidency, plus a Senate majority, gives him the power to shape the judicial branch for decades to come. Trump is president because of Republicans who voted on party lines. While a substantial number of Americans viewed both him and Hillary Clinton negatively, those who viewed both unfavorably largely cast their ballots for Trump. Some chunk of those voters were Republicans who ended up coming home to their party, and in a race settled by fewer than 78,000 votes in 3 states, that probably made the difference. One significant reason was that Republicans would rather have a Republican nominating people to the Supreme Court. In exit polling, more than a quarter of Trump voters cited Supreme Court nominees as the most important factor in their vote. Nearly 3/4 of Trump voters overall said it was at least an important factor. Many Clinton voters said the same thing, but a smaller percentage. Trump was clearly aware that this was a useful sales pitch as the 2016 campaign wound down. He mentioned it repeatedly, to the extent that he had a stump speech. His line that he would appoint justices to the United States Supreme Court who will uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States was part of it. Since his election, the appointment of Gorsuch has been a mainstay of Trump's summaries of his presidency successes. While addressing the National Assembly in South Korea this month, he touted the miracle that the United States was experiencing, including strengthening the judiciary with a brilliant Supreme Court justice. Part of this is Trump's reflexive defensiveness. Part of it, too, is a president who is very attuned to making his base happy, reminding it constantly of why it should be. The Gorsuch pick was broadly popular with Republicans. The rift between the popularity of a candidate and the assurance that he will uphold partisan goals is repeating itself in Alabama. Roy Moore, the Republican candidate in that state, has been the subject of serious allegations concerning his behavior with underage girls in the 1970s. Republicans in that state are presented with the same choice as were Republicans nationally last November. Do you vote for a man who has been accused of molestation and UAL assault but who will support Trump's agenda, or do you vote for a Democrat? Shortly before Trump unveiled his bolstered Supreme Court list on Friday, Gov. Ivy Ralla explained how she planned to vote in her state's Senate election. "I do believe the nominee of the party is the one I'll vote for," Ivy told reporters. "I believe in the Republican Party, what we stand for, and, most important, we need to have a Republican in the United States Senate to vote on things like the Supreme Court justices, other appointments. The Senate has to confirm and make major decisions. So that's what I plan to do, vote for Republican nominee Roy Moore." Shortly afterward, the White House sent out its list of possible appointments, should another vacancy on the Supreme Court occur. This issue is less potent for Moore than it was for Trump. For one thing, Moore isn't appointing the justices, just voting on them. And, for another, his is one of only 100 votes. Without that vote, though, the Republican majority in the Senate slips to 51, making every fight, not just fights over Supreme Court nominees, that much more fraught. Gorsuch's nomination was approved by the Senate only after the body eliminated the long-standing rule that nominations to the court could be subject to filibuster. A less potent issue, but still an issue, as Ivy made clear in her statement. It may, in fact, be Trump's trump card, one of the few places that he can exercise his partisanship without the moderation of Democrats. During the third presidential debate, held weeks before the 2016 election, Trump and Clinton were asked about their visions for the Supreme Court. "The Supreme Court," Trump replied. "It's what it's all about." Then he mentioned his list of possible nominees.